friends, I'm going to teach you how to make Norwegian Lefse today. And it starts by peeling 5 pounds of russet potatoes, cutting them up into small pieces, and we're going to boil those until they're just fork tender. Then we're going to use this gadget called a potato ricer, and we are going to squish all of these potatoes right through that. Basically what this is doing is making these potatoes into small pieces similar to rice and making sure that there are no lumps. When we roll this out, we don't want any lumps in our lefse. And this is really fun, and it looks like it would take a long time, but it really didn't. This took me less than 5 minutes to do the whole 5 pounds of russet potatoes. Now I'm going to speed this up because it is kind of fun and satisfying to watch me do it. I believe people also use this just to make mashed potatoes instead of using an electric mixer. Now to this, I'm going to add 1 stick of butter, which I cut up in little cubes just so it melts easier. A 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. 1.5 tablespoons of regular white sugar. And a teaspoon of salt. And now I'm going to take a potato masher and I'm just going to mash this all together until it's completely combined and that butter is melted. This is just step 1 in the lefse making. Now we're going to cover this and refrigerate it overnight. Now the next morning or the next day, we're going to add 2.5 cups of flour. The best way to stir this is really with your hands. Because that potato mixture is so stiff, this really is the best way to do it. Now at this moment, I was regretting the size of bowl I had. I really wished I had a larger bowl, but that's okay. I made it work. Now, if you want this recipe, I'm about to put it up on the screen if you do want to take a screenshot. I will add all the how-to part in the comments below. We're going to take our big dough and we're going to roll this out. We want to get these, I always say like hockey puck size, but they're more like, I think, like a tennis ball maybe. But in order to get them all about the same size, it's best to roll your big chunk of dough out and then cut it in strips. Then they're going to all be about the same size. Mine's falling off the table. Let's cut it in half so we can get that back on the table. Okay, so this usually makes about 20, and I just cut them all like this, and then we're just going to be patting them like this, almost like you would a hamburger, a cheeseburger, and then I like to roll them on the table, and that's it. Traditionally, at our house, we like to do this at Christmas time. So when my son and his girlfriend come home for the holidays, this is what we like to do. Everybody enjoys eating them. They're fun to make. It's time consuming, so it really is a great thing for the holidays where everyone can kind of pitch in and help with it. And you know, it's our heritage, so it's even extra special. I'm going to put these in the fridge and we're going to keep them in the fridge, and we're actually only going to bring out 1 at a time when we put them on the lefse griddle because we want the rest to stay chilled. Now we're on to the fun part. We're going to cook the lefse. So there's quite a few tools you need to make lefse. Now I have seen people make it on the stove, so you can do that, but this is the way that you really want to, the way that Norwegians did it, I guess. We're going to use a pastry cloth on top of this board, and this is where we will roll the lefse out. I'll give you a bird's eye view and a close-up when we start to roll these out. This is handy because it can come off to get washed. It is full of flour when it's time to be washed. I like to wash mine off in the sink first before I put it in the wash. Now this rolling pin is different than a normal rolling pin. I'm not sure if you can see that, all the little ridges. And And I like to use what do you think this is called? A rolling pin sock?
Yeah.
There's probably a name for it. I'm not sure what it is. Rolling pin cover, but that is really nice. So we'll use that. These are the sticks that we're going to flip the lefse with. And here's the grill. Now this thing gets very, very hot. Like 500 degrees hot, I believe. We're gonna plug it in. So we have to be very careful with that. I have William with me. You can see, and if you watch us and you know us, you know he is legally blind. So he does have some central vision, but we want to be very, very careful that he doesn't get burned when he's making these, because he loves to make them too. They're fun. I got two in case Lily wants to make one right away. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put an enormous amount of flour on this pastry cloth and just really rub it in there. You want to rub it in where you can almost not see those red marks anymore. Just really rub it in there. We got it floured. We're going to roll this out into a thin patty. The directions say to roll until you can see the lettering on the board, but I don't really think that we like them quite that thin. But you do want them, fairly thin. I'm pretty much a stickler on getting it a good circle, but you can't always be perfect.
Now, where we're from in Wisconsin, you can easily buy this at most local grocery stores, but it is not even close to the same. I think feels older to me. I know obviously it's older because it was made beforehand, but it just has a completely different texture and taste.
I feel like ours is more tender.
Yeah.
Probably because, it's fresh. It hasn't sat or been frozen And you take these flat side down underneath, pick it up.
It's like it's draping.
Normally I wouldn't do this, but for the camera's sake, I have to move my griddle over here and then just unroll it right on here. And then as you see, it'll start to get bubbly after a minute, and then we'll flip it over. And then we put them on a towel to cool like this, but honestly, at Christmas time, everybody's eating them, walking around. It's like, I made it, I'm eating it, they're walking around, but there's like none on here after we've made like 5 or 8. So we do always end up with at least 10 in the fridge though, I would say. They heat up well in the microwave, you can freeze them. I think a lot of people fold them like this.
Yep, they sure do.
But for now, we're just gonna let them cool flat just on a towel. I have it on a pan.
And a lot of times here in Wisconsin, people will do this together, so then they take a little bit home, whoever helps make it. So that's a fun way to connect with your neighbors and friends.
Flip this over, it's nicely browned. This one's turning out good. You can see already all the little bubbles as it gets warm. Normally you only need one paddle to flip these, but sometimes you get in a sticky situation where there's something stuck or you need to reflip it, so it's nice to have 2.
And if you were Norwegian and you messed up, what phrase would you say?
Oofta.
Oofta.
You're not a good Norwegian if you don't have your own oofta coffee mug. Okay, it's brown on the other side, so we're going to take it, pick it up, and just put it on the others. And we don't have any kids here to eat them up, so. Okay, I'm going to bring the camera down and show you close up. Now, this is not an exact science, and a lot of times I just use my lefse paddle and lift up one corner to see if it's nicely browned or not. And if it is, then it's done. And some of them you can tell get a little bit browner than the other, and that is perfectly fine. They all taste great. Now, when using this lefse stick to lift these up to put on the grill, you do have to be very careful because if you have any part that sticks, it can really rip these or put a hole in your lefse. So you want to be really careful when doing that. And that's one reason we use a lot of flour. Now, these are very, very tender. They're not like a tortilla. So when you're rolling them out, you do have to be very careful not to roll too hard or too fast, and make sure you do have a lot of flour. And then you can see here, I kind of felt to make sure nothing was sticking before I flipped that over. That one is perfectly browned. Now here I did a close-up of one and made it fast so you can see how neat it looks when it just bubbles up. Okay, now here is the best part. We're going to try one. This is what we do while we're cooking them, and this is what happens at Christmas when there's hardly any left. But we just put on some butter. And then I like to just sprinkle on some regular white sugar. William prefers brown sugar. They taste best when they're warm. You can certainly eat them cold, but we love them warm. We even microwave them the next day if we're going to have them. And then you just kind of fold it over, roll it up a little bit, and that's it. Okay, here's the lefse. So good. So good.